runs constantly until it hits pressure.
That's what I wondered. But then I was reading there's like a duty cycle setup and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's not like my other one's obviously set up straight.
What?
My other one is obviously set up.
Yeah.
Okay, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know it has been probably about 2 months since my last video, and there was very good reason for that. I basically ran out of stuff that I could do in the garage without my truck being back. As you can see, I'm sitting on my 1951 GMC now, and it is back from Issyfab Speed Limited, where Jeff did a pile of work to this truck to get it to the point where I can now pick it back up and start working on final assembly. When Jeff had the truck, he did a lot of work to it, which I'm going to overlay in some videos of me sort of walking around while I talk about a lot of the stuff. So the main things that we wanted Jeff to do was to wire it, plumb it, you know, check the brakes, get the coolant in it, just make sure that it could come back to me ready to go. I wanted to make sure that all these systems were done properly and by someone who is a licensed mechanic and, you know, knows what he's doing, just because these are the systems that can fail and can cause some problems. A DIY guy like myself, if some of you have been following me a long time, you know that I am really a photographer, writer, bike rider. I'm not a mechanic at all, but I do understand how a lot of systems work. I can bolt some stuff together. I can get things like that working, but I really want to make sure that these systems were dialed in, and that is where Jeff came in to make sure that that work is done. Now that all of that is done, I can get back to getting this truck working and on the road. And the first place Jeff started was wiring the truck. Now the truck is fully wired with an American auto wire harness. Underneath the dash is beautiful. Everything is laid out in a way that I can maintain it going forward, and I can integrate with it, kind of like an OEM vehicle. He also put in my Classic Instruments gauges. So I have Classic Instruments gauges in now, signals and everything like that. It's in kilometers an hour. It's a nice setup. I'm really happy with how it looks in the truck, and especially the price that I paid for it. Gauges can get really expensive if you do not know that, so just keep that in mind if you are working on a project of your own. Jeff also installed really cool under dash lighting, which is pretty trick and lights up all of the work that I did to the floor of the truck, which is replacing patch panels and just stuff like that. So this truck did get toe boards, half a floorboard. It got a lot of work in there. There was a lot of rust, typical rust for these trucks. But I did definitely do that work, and I did it all in this garage that you see me sitting in. Under the hood of the truck is a 4.8 LS lifted from a Silverado. It's a pretty simple build. It's got 799 heads, blue valve strings. It's been gone through, and it's got a BTR Racing no springs required cam in it, so a pretty small cam in it. And then it's got a Phytech loaded intake manifold to just sort of clean things up, along with Holley LS coil pack covers and hooker headers. Nothing too crazy, but it is definitely going to be something that is going to look good under the hood of a truck that is a driver, not really a show vehicle, but I did really want it to look nice regardless. You'll notice the firewall is not factory. That is the 3rd or 4th LS Fab firewall ever sold, and that is where I actually started patching panels on this truck with the firewall. Something that you pop the hood and see immediately. Why I started there, I'll never really know, but I am really happy with how it turned out. I also got the firewall painted white of my old Mazda. Some of you will remember me from that vehicle. It is Mazda Arctic White. The roof is painted the same color as is the dash, but the roof does have a little bit of flake in it, which is really hard to see in my garage. The chassis under the truck did start as a factory chassis. The center section is pretty much all that's left that is factory. The rear is a back half that Jeff built. It's of Jeff's own design. He started this chassis before he started Issyfab, and it's really pretty cool the way that the link bars go into the cross member, and it's a unique back half. So I sort of ran with that to make sure that when I mounted the air tanks and the air management system, it didn't look like everything was thrown back there. And then Jeff did do all the hardline work. A lot of the wiring harness does run through the chassis, again, to just keep things as clean as possible. The air management that I'm running in this truck is an Airlift 3H/P setup. I do have the ride height sensors hooked up, but the air system isn't really configured quite yet. So while it does just go up and down, it is not using height sensors. In the front of the truck, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you that with the sheet metal on. It is a G-body front clip, and I do have disc brakes all around. The rear end is an F-body rear end with discs, and then the front of the truck is a 98 Plus Blazer front end that uses dual piston disc brakes. It's got tubular upper control arms in the front, de-humped and plated lower control arms, Pro Forge Super Travel ball joints, Pro Forge steering link, It's got no notch tie rod ends. Pretty much everything you need to get one of these things buried into the ground, it has. And everything is brand new, so this vehicle is actually going to drive like the newest vehicle I've ever owned, just because every single suspension component is new. Let's see, what else have we done to this thing here? It's got a new seat from Atkins & Customs, if I didn't talk about that already. Continuing with the interior, I have an I Did It steering column that has a Bel Air wheel on it. I don't know if I'm going to keep this wheel long term. It is a little bit big and it kind of feels a bit fussy, but I'll probably get on the road with that and just see how I like it cruising down the road. The I Did It column is raw, and I do plan to keep it raw as long as possible. I am going to coat it with something, probably like patina sauce or something like that, just to preserve the raw finish, but I really do like it, and I really don't want to paint it if I don't have to. If I do paint it, I'll paint it white. I do have heat in this truck. I have a vintage air system. Again, Jeff put that in. I do have to run a couple of hoses and stuff for defrost and stuff like that, but I do have heat in this truck as well. I do really plan to drive this thing as much as possible once it's on the road. That's why it has new door shields all around, new window seals. I did Altman latches on the doors to just keep everybody safe. It's got a lot of stuff in it to really make this thing a fun driver and enjoyable driver. I tried to not cut corners. If you want to call me out, the only thing I cut corners on was the paint, but I do like patina, and honestly, getting the roof and firewall and all that stuff done did cost me a bunch of money, so there's no way I'm straightening the rest of this truck to get it painted properly. I think I'm going to really enjoy a patina paint job because I won't have to worry about scratches and stuff like that too much, although I will totally stress about the firewall, fenders, and roof because that is just the way that I'm built. With that quick run through on the entire truck pretty much, we are going to now start going to the next phase, which is going to be getting this thing on the road. So the main things that I need to do to get it on the road is it needs a drive shaft, it needs an exhaust so that we can tune it. Basically right now, because it doesn't have an exhaust, there's two sensors sort of missing, so the motor doesn't really know what it's doing. It will crank over, it'll start and run for a short period of time, but it's really not quite ready. As much as you probably want me to, I am not going to start it for this video. With it being open headers right now, the first day I had it, I made a couple enemies out of my neighbors just cranking it in the garage here. So I'm going to ease up on that until I get an exhaust on it, just to make sure that my neighbors don't call anyone on me. But you know, I will air it up. I have a couple of things that I do want to do that requires the truck up a little bit, because we are going to do a little bit of work in this video. But the first thing we're going to do is, they're off camera here, there is a bunch of boxes that Jeff dropped off. I have to go through and organize those, organize them in a way that makes sense for the things that I need to do, and then I do have to update my whiteboard. So I'm going to put you guys on the tripod, and then we are going to organize this bench here, and then make a new list on the whiteboard, and then we'll come back with that. Okay, so that took a long time, but I have gone through all of the boxes, organized them into different purposes, and put them underneath my desk so that I can move forward on working on the truck and getting it running. One of the cool things that Jeff did at Issyfab was he made this binder for me, and this binder inside of it has instructions for everything. So I'm going to hole punch a couple more of these things and get them in there, but it's got my standalone harness, it's got information on my oil pan, the LS covers, my cam spec chart, my radiator. It's pretty much you know, wipers. Everything is in here. It's kind of a pretty cool idea that he did this because it's basically a manual for my truck, even though my truck never had a manual. So I'm going to keep this sort of moving forward. I'm going to keep it in the garage here, keep updating it because it's super useful. So just got to grab a couple more sheets for that, and then I'm going to put some more things in there. So this is definitely going to live either on my desk or under my desk, depending on what I'm working on. The next thing I need to do is create a list on here of things that I need to do, which does mean that I'm probably, again, going to have to move a couple of things around so I can access that entire whiteboard. So again, I'm going to put the camera somewhere and you guys can watch me sort of make some space, and then start writing out things that I need to do. Well, I have made my initial list of items. It's about 25 to 26 different things that I can think of the top of my head that I need to take care of, and then I'll be taking care of in the weekly videos. The first ones, the ones I really want to tackle, just so I can see how this all works, is to moving under its own power. I need to measure for the drive shaft. I need to order a drive shaft. I need to do a drive shaft cross member because I'm doing a 2-piece drive shaft. I need to mount the bed so that Mike at GT Customs can work around that when he's doing the exhaust. I also need to put on a third running board mount just so he doesn't put an exhaust mount where that needs to go. And then finally the exhaust and the tune. Once all of that is done, then the truck can roll in and out of the garage and work. I know a lot of you are probably wondering why can't it do any of that right now. I'm missing 2 sensors in the exhaust, and the sensor that I have in my intake is also incorrect. So the motor can kind of run a little bit, but it's not really happy. And also, I just don't want to put it around too much without a proper tune in it and ruin the work that Jeff has done there. Next list that I have is free stuff. So these are things that I have currently either the parts to do or the metal to fabricate it. So, you know, rear cab mounts. I'm probably going to do that one in this video. Bumper mounts. My bumper mounts are a little bit wonky. Fender welting, transmission tunnel, seat sides panel, seat adjuster, interior panels. That's just the dash. I don't have door panels yet. Polish the hard lines, horn, mount the steering wheel, and shift indicator. So I do have a horn, but the steering wheel horn button doesn't work. And then finally, we have to roadworthy. So I'm going to have to tub my bed a little bit more, especially for my Detroit to do wheels. I got to get those set up so that I can fit everything around those. Probably roll the fenders. I got to put some seat belts in, airlift calibration, tail lights, mount hardline, patina the bed. That's going to be a big one. And then fit the fenders. So that is kind of everything that I have to do. Looking at it is kind of a lot, but I think some of them should go fairly quickly, where some of the other ones are going to slow me down, particularly being painting this whole thing here. That's going to take some time, but I think I have a method that I can hopefully get that done. And then also, you know, I got some summer vacation and stuff like that, so hopefully I can crank away, put some really good time down on this truck. So I'm going to head inside and eat. I'm going to come back out, and then we're going to fix my rear cab mounts. And the main reason I'm going to fix my rear cab mounts is because my son keeps jumping in the truck, and I want to make sure that it's all safe. And I'll explain what I did once I'm under there. It's pretty stupid. So one of the things that I want to fix, and I apologize for not being on the camera and showing it to you at the same time, is this mount here for my cab. There should be 2 of these pieces, one on this side and one on that side. I don't know what happened when I put my cab on, when I got these mounts powder coated, but I lost one of these. So there's just one of these on each side, but really there should be 2. And the reason I want to get this fixed is because my son's been hopping in and out of the cab, you know, having fun. And I just want to make sure that this one doesn't bend or distort or wreck these bushings, because then all sorts of alignment problems will happen. So I'm just going to pop this one out. I'm going to support it, the cab, with a bit of wood, and then we'll just make up a template, and I'll bang out 2 of these. Okay, so as you can see on the bench, this is just a pretty simple piece of metal, really. Just a straight one, and then we'll have one on either side to prevent deflection of the piece. It actually looks like this might have deflected just a little bit, so I'm gonna have to nudge it back a bit when I'm fixing it up. But I'm just gonna try and find another piece of metal stock that I have that's about this thick. Make one for the other side, mark the holes, cut it out. I just have to make 2, so I don't actually have to take this out on the other side, and then we should be good. Okay, so in my metal pile I had this piece of stock here. I'm not really sure what I used it for before, but it's going to work out pretty well. You can see that it's the right width, pretty much bang on, so I just have to make 2 cuts. And then the gauge is on point as well. So I am going to make 2 cuts of this, drill some holes, and test fit it up, put this back in the truck, paint it all black, and then call it done. Okay, so if you pardon my mess here, I've got a couple of things kicking around, but that's pretty much all it needed to be. I've drilled it out. It's got 2 on either side now. This other bushing is in the mount underneath the truck. So I can slide this back together, and then it'll be really easy to just put this together on the other side of the truck. But first, even though it's going to be underneath the truck, I am going to paint this black. I'm really fighting the urge to kind of replicate these notches. I might end up doing it just so that it looks a little bit better, and then we will, this piece will be done. So in the next cut, we'll have 2 of these ready to be painted. Alright, so it's been a couple days since I started with the cab mount fix. So I do have them both painted now. I ended up just painting with some Tremclad, you know, my favorite hot rod in the can, because I was doing some work on this inner fender, just touching this up after I did some body work on the other side. So both fenders are actually done now. That's another little bonus thing here. I did end up rounding the corners a little bit just to make it look a little bit better. The paint job, I mean, there's brush strokes in it, but I'm not too concerned really because this is going underneath the truck, and I just wanted to stop some rust. So I'm going to set up the camera and put this one on the one side, and then we'll do the other side, and then we'll be able to check it off of our list there and be able to say that we got one thing at least done for this video. I'm going to try and get at least one thing done in every video as best I can, so it's definitely good to get this little win here and start off knocking a few things off of the free column. Alright, so as you probably saw, it took a bit of finagling to get that side in, but I have now the driver and passenger side done, which means that I have knocked off one item on my free stuff list, and we are a little bit closer to getting the truck on the road. So I'm going to call it a wrap for this video. I hope that you're all excited to see more videos from myself with the truck now that it is finally back, and now that we have a big list of things to get done. I'm going to get out here as much as I can, so please give this video a like, a subscribe. I definitely just want to keep doing YouTube stuff a little bit more consistently now, especially because the truck is back. I feel like I'm finally getting comfortable enough in front of the camera to continue working and showing you all what I'm doing. There's definitely some things that I won't capture on camera because some nights I don't have a lot of time and I just want to get something done quick, just plow it out. But I do have a lot of stuff that I definitely want to show you as well. So thanks again for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.